The man who created his own wife. The misogynist sculptor. On the island of Cyprus, a place sacred to the goddess Aphrodite, lived a man named Pygmalion. He was a sculptor of immense talent, capable of turning cold stone into figures that seemed to breathe. Yet, despite his ability to create beauty, Pygmalion's heart was hardened against it in real life. He was a staunch misogynist who had sworn off women entirely. His hatred was not without reason, or so he told himself. He had witnessed the Propoetides, the daughters of Propoetus. These women had dared to deny the divinity of Aphrodite. In her wrath, the goddess had cursed them, stripping them of all shame. They became the first women to sell their bodies publicly, descending into such vulgarity and hardness of heart that they eventually turned into literal flintstone. Disgusted by their behavior and seeing it as a reflection of all womankind, Pygmalion resolved to live a life of celibacy. He would dedicate himself solely to his art, believing that no mortal woman was worthy of his affection or his time. The obsession with perfection. In the silence of his studio, Pygmalion began a new project. He sought to create with his chisel what he could not find in the flesh: absolute perfection. He chose a block of snow-white ivory, a material more difficult and unforgiving than marble, but possessed of a unique, lifelike glow. For months, he worked with a feverish obsession. He carved a woman who was not just beautiful, but flawless. He gave her a face of exquisite tenderness, eyes that seemed to hold a secret wisdom, and a body of graceful curves that no living woman could ever possess. He smoothed the ivory until it lost its roughness, polishing it until it gleamed like skin under the moonlight. As he worked, he found himself correcting nature's mistakes, removing every blemish, every asymmetry, until the figure standing before him was not just a statue, but an ideal. The silent lover. As the statue neared completion, a strange and tragic madness took hold of the sculptor. Pygmalion fell in love. It was not a passing fancy, but a deep, consuming passion for his own creation. He named her Galatea, meaning she who is milk white. The irony was cruel. The man who hated women gave his heart to a woman who could never love him back. He began to treat the ivory figure as if she were alive. He would stroke her arms, half expecting the hard surface to yield like soft flesh. He would kiss her cold lips and imagine they kissed him back. He brought her gifts that real maidens cherished: smooth pebbles, colorful birds, lilies, and tears of amber dropped by the daughters of the sun. He dressed her in robes of Tyrian purple, placed rings on her fingers, and draped necklaces of pearls around her throat. At night, he laid her head on soft feather pillows, whispering endearments into her unhearing ears, tormenting himself with a love that was doomed to silence. The great festival of Aphrodite, Venus, arrived, a day when the entire island of Cyprus celebrated their patron goddess. The air was thick with the scent of burning incense, and the altars ran red with the blood of sacrificed bulls. It was a day of miracles and petitions. Pygmalion, worn down by his secret despair, made his way to the temple. He approached the altar where the sacred fire burned. He wanted to ask for the impossible, for his statue to come to life, but he feared the gods would mock him for his madness. So, with a trembling voice, he modified his prayer. "O ye gods who can do all things," he whispered, "give me, I pray, a wife." He paused, his heart pounding. "One like my ivory virgin." The flame and the flush. Aphrodite, the goddess of love, was present at her own festival. She heard the sculptor's prayer, But more importantly, she looked into his heart and saw the purity of his passion. She understood that his art was an act of worship. As a sign of her favor, the flame on the altar flared up, not once, but 3 times, shooting a tongue of fire high into the air. Pygmalion returned home, unsure of what the sign meant. He went straight to his studio, to the only thing he loved. Galatea stood there, beautiful and still. He leaned over to kiss her, a ritual of sorrow he performed every night. But as his lips touched hers, he pulled back. They were warm. He hesitated, then reached out a hand to touch her arm. The ivory did not feel like hard stone. It yielded to his touch, softening like beeswax in the sun. He pressed his thumb against her wrist and felt a pulse, faint at first, then stronger. The whiteness of the ivory was fading, replaced by the rosy flush of living blood. The awakening. Pygmalion fell to his knees, weeping with a mixture of fear and overwhelming joy. He was no longer touching a masterpiece of art, he was touching a masterpiece of life. He kissed her again, and this time the woman responded. Galatea's eyelids fluttered. She took her first breath, and her eyes opened to the light of the world. The first thing she ever saw was her creator, looking at her with a love that had defied the laws of nature. She smiled, and it was not the frozen smile of a statue. Aphrodite herself came to bless the marriage she had made possible. The union of the artist and his art bore a son named Paphos, whose name was given to the city sacred to the goddess. The story of Pygmalion stands as a testament to the power of belief, the Pygmalion Effect, proving that sometimes, if you desire something with enough intensity, the gods themselves will bend reality to make it true.